Hello and welcome to the first devlog for a new and up-and-coming game called VeinBound. The main aim of this is to document my progress towards completing the game, with the main aim to eventually release the game on Steam. So before I start to talk about VeinBound itself, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm Dukas12 and I'm a new indie game developer. I've had experience with Roblox Lua game development previously, as well as full-stack web development using PHP, JavaScript, and various other languages during that. But this is my first solo project, with the exception of a couple of others first on Unity. I go over the main kind of game loop and what VeinBound is about and stuff like that, and then we'll get into the actual devlog. So the game loop for VeinBound is fairly simple. So it's just the player goes to mine resources in a world that I've not really set yet. I'm not really sure where this should be set. Potentially maybe space or something like that. And to gather them, they have drones that come and collect the resources and bring them back to the drone station. And then in the drone station has like a storage for these resources and how they can be used, whether they're sold, used to craft things, to build new buildings and stuff like that. The aim of the game is you've got to upgrade your tools, find more resources, get more value resources, and build more buildings. So the first thing I did here was to create a new Unity 3D project, and then once that had opened up, I first added a plane for the floor. So I added a capsule for the player as a temporary model for now. I then parented the camera to the player object. As you can see here, the camera can see what the player sees, so it's a first person. This means that when the player moves, the camera follows the player. So I may eventually use Cinemachine in the future, but just for now this will do. After doing that, I made a basic player movement script with a lot of variables that can be changed, so I can change the movement of the player easily in the future. And then it means if there's different environments which might have different gravity effects or different moving speeds or anything like that, as well as different items, that can easily be changed as well. So after doing that, I created a basic placeholder tool model and set up a simple animation for the tool being used. I then parented the tool to the player, so the tool would move with the player, and then previewed to make sure that the tool was in the correct position and the animation worked. I then used the player script to connect the animation using an animator to the animation, and then when the player clicks the left mouse button, then that causes the animation to play. The main aim for now is not to make anything look nice or be the final version of stuff, but it's mainly just to make sure the main systems are working. I'm placing most of the focus at the moment on the scripting side of stuff, since I'm sure the art style and game objects can be changed easily in the future. So the tool, I created its own separate script to be used, and that effectively just uses the raycast to create a ray, which we use to identify whether it's hit a ore object. I created a temporary stone model for the ore, and then I tagged both the tool and the ore with their own respective tags. And then if the raycasts at a certain distance by a variable, which I can change in the Unity editor, hits the object with that tag, then it can be broken depending upon its health. So I just set up some simple variables to track the health and a simple function to deduct any damage taken by the tool on the ore. So the ore has its own script, and in that script it declares the variables for like its health and the chances of minimum and maximum drops being produced. I also added some simple effects to the rock when it was hit that just causes the model to grow and shrink slightly. I added some simple sound effects for whenever it's hit and broken, and then when the object is broken, the game object is destroyed by the script to prevent any over asset usage. I then moved on to making the fragments that would come out of the rock. Again, this is only placeholder models for now, just to get the models working correctly. So I added a rigid body to the rock fragments so that when they're instantiated that they can fall down to the ground and be affected by gravity. So I created a simple function for when the rock is destroyed, so it creates these rock fragments, and then I used the minimum and maximum values set by the variables declared in the ore script to determine how many fragments to be produced, which is a random number between the minimum and maximum value at the moment. I also created a separate tag for the fragments. This will help the drones identify them correctly. I then created a basic model for the drone and give it a rigid body. The rigid body was set to kinematic to avoid the drone being affected by gravity, but it still allows me to move it effectively. I then created another mono behavior script for the drone, and this will control the movement of the drone and the identification of where the fragments are. So this script identifies the fragments in the void update function, and once the fragments have been identified, then the drone is set to move and turn towards the fragments. So that's the end of the first devlog. If you have any questions or you'd like to help support with this project, you can join the Discord below and just drop me a DM on there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.